from the new world to the old world. They're not just, leaving it as it was. They're actually changing how the worlds would interact with each other. Okay? And so when they found out that there was a Raising Cane's in South America, and they're like, this is the best chicken in the world, they would want to bring something like that back to Europe. Okay? So keep that in mind. That mindset is that goods and things and desirables that weren't in the place that you came from were out there. They were out there for the taking. They were part of that pie that people wanted. Europeans are curious about the world, right? Have you ever just learned something, and it may be in history class that you never learned something, or maybe a new technology or something very scientific. It's like, that's kind of cool. I want to know more about that, right? So just the other day we were watching the news in my government class. So you can expect that that's what we're going to be doing next year in government class, is watching the news and being informed. But there was this segment about how they're using UV light to kill the coronavirus. It's like, man, that sparks my curiosity. I'm not a science guy, but it's like, we can use light to kill a virus instead of using chemicals. It's like, that's curiosity, right? People haven't seen parts of the world. Maybe they're just adventurous, as we see it in letter F. Maybe the thrill for adventure, right? Just go places, or like we mentioned, maybe we're trying to escape the past. Maybe we're just fed up with good old Nebraska, right? Maybe we're just fed up from where we're at in life. From the Nebraska is just not enough for us. Maybe we need to expand our wings and fly somewhere else, right? And so plagues and wars and even feudalism, where you were kind of stuck living and working for the lord of the land, and kind of weren't able to have your own land. Now there's a possibility that you had your own property that would come. That's very enticing. There was just the ability to, again, the technology started to develop. And so when people were testing out their long voyages and they were actually coming back alive instead of drowning or getting marooned somewhere, people saw that, hey, this is something they could possibly do because it's been tested. Right? European kings are seeking power, and just people just curious about the world. So some instruments that they used that helped them along the way: a sand glass measured time, speed, distance. Sound lines measured depth of the water. An astrolabe determines latitude and longitude. A quadrant determines location and latitude. And then even at nighttime, they had tools and instruments that helped them navigate when they had no way of really seeing the waters. And they used a nocturnal, which helps determine time at night, and then also location based off of the stars. Any questions thus far? Any comments that you would like to add that are edifying? Okay. That must mean we're understanding every single thing that we're getting through already. Or that at least is the expectation. So obviously if there are causes, then there are natural effects, right? That's a law of science and nature, is that if there's a cause, or if there's an effect, there has to be a cause. Okay. So main effects. Naturally, when two groups come in contact and they're different and they may not like each other, or they're so different that just can't get along, you have tribal and native tribal civilizations that are being captured, they're being defeated in war, they're exposed to diseases, or maybe even forced to work. Spain gains an empire in Latin America, which is pretty much Mexico and everywhere to the south of Mexico is Latin America. The English, Dutch, and French search for a northwest passage. What is that referencing? What is a northwest passage? What does that reference?
Passage that goes northwest.
Yeah, but what were they trying to do? What are they trying to do, Logan? Yeah, so they were looking for any body of water, and if you look back here on this big map on the wall, you see that they found out that they eventually could go west and potentially make it to China because the earth is round and they're believing that now. But they thought, hey, can we go somewhere in the northwest, right? Follow the little red pointer, laser pointer. And can we make it all the way to China? And the answer is kind of, right? It gets too cold up too far north that it's really not feasible to take boats there. But and then they try to decide, hey, can we go through the continent? Can we go through North America? Can we go through modern day United States or Canada and make it to the other side of the ocean? Right? And so they were hoping this would actually cut down on travel time to China. So that was the idea behind what the English and the Dutch and French were trying to do. Permanent European settlements are founded, right? They're the stay, just kind of as we mentioned in that handout with Powhatan and his Native Americans that's, thought they were there to trade, but then they started putting down homes. Globalization, exchange for food, people, cultures, like I mentioned, this is called the Columbian Exchange. Right, so half of the world's food, as we know it, was actually in the Americas. And so when they discovered certain crops and plants that would last, I'll get to you in a second, then they brought them over to Europe. And that's why we see the Italians are so good at making pizza with their awesome, mozzarellas and tomato sauces that they have. The only way we can attribute that is to them discovering that tomatoes exist in parts of North and South America. Yes, sir?
What's the time difference from going from England to China through America or around?
Like how long would it actually take if you went from England to China on boat, or how many time zones are there in between them?
How long?
In terms of, it would be longer, I guess, to go west than east. That would be my best way to describe it if you were going from England to China. And that's just basic on the flight pattern. It'd be further to fly. Yeah, if you flew west, you'd take more time. I don't know how many time zones. That's a good question that I don't know off the top of my head. But it'd be well over 12 hours. Yeah. Globalization, we talked about that, expansion of Catholic and Protestant teachings. So, oftentimes we think about these conflicts between the Europeans and the natives and their warring. There was actual real life missionaries from all these countries that were sending their, maybe even conquistadors over. They were also sending missionaries, Catholic missionaries, Protestant missionaries, meeting the needs in which the spiritual needs of the natives. And as they encountered maybe some of the native rituals and religions, that was a mission field. The New World is a mission field, bringing the good news to the people that have never heard about Christ before. Okay. Indentured servitude and African slaves work on plantations, so we're maybe even focusing more so on what happened specifically in the United States. What is an indentured servant?
Paid one?
Say that again?
A paid one?
Kind of a paid one. Indentured servant is someone that says, "Hey, I want passage to the New World, and I don't have the money to pay for it right now. It's kind of expensive to get there, but I am willing to work for anyone to pay me to get over there." And generally, how long did that last? How long did you have to work for someone before? Yeah, Davis? Yeah, they work about 7 years, and then they would give you kind of your allotment of land and supplies so that you could start your own kind of plantation. That was how it was designed. And then some of those people that came over and started their own plantations, they enslaved Africans to do the heavy work. Okay. Something interesting to note, this quote here, and just to think about. You know, there are more Spanish-speaking people in the United States than in Spain. It's the true, right? Spain doesn't have a high population of people. It's a much smaller country, right? The impact of Spain and Spanish conquest and Spanish exploration, I mean, we can't escape it. The future of all America is Spain, and that story begins in 1492, and it's a part of your story too. So, it is true, right? We have Spanish as the main second language in the United States.